So hello everyone, my name is Mark Hummel. This is Mark Hummel's Harmonica Party podcast 30-something. And I'm here with Lee Oskar, my friend for quite a few years, and he is one of the founding members of the band War. It was an early inspiration for me as a teenager playing the harmonica. When I heard you guys in 1970, it changed my world. You guys and Jay Giles' band were the only bands I heard on the radio that featured harmonica.
Well, and Stevie Wonder too.
Stevie Wonder, but I'm saying for diatonic harmonica, you guys were the guys. Yeah. And so I am thrilled to have you doing this. You've got a great story. I've known you long enough, and we've done enough work together that I've learned a lot about you as a person and as a musician. And I remember when I first met you, I thought, who is this pretentious artiste?
Really?
Yeah.
I was being pretentious?
Yeah, I thought so, but it was
I
like...
don't think I've changed.
Well, the thing is,
I don't think I ever... What made you think I was pretentious? I'm just curious.
I mean, I'm being honest with you.
No, I want to be.
It was like, I mean, the funny thing was, you were opinionated, and I'm very opinionated.
Oh, yeah.
As you know, we're both very opinionated. Yeah. And so it's kind of like, I think you were sharing your opinions, and I think, you know what it was you probably said something about blues that struck me a certain way, and I probably got offended or something.
Probably.
But I mean, over the years, it was like, within, I want to say probably, a month or two, we became friends and we started working together a lot. I want to say that was at least
but something else
20-something years ago, if not more. I think it was 1996. That's when it was. It was 1996.
Yeah, time flies. But yep. I remember when the first time you had it, you wanted a headshot.
You?
Yeah, headshots, because that's what was required for clubs and all that. I don't remember where we kind of bumped heads.
I'm used to bumping heads,
But I can talk about you too, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay. We'll share stories, and
the bottom line is I have come to greatly respect you.
Thank you.
And a lot of it has to do with several things. One is you are very musically adventurous. Probably one of the most musically adventurous, and you're somebody that's really had a huge influence on the harmonica world, both as a player and also because of your harmonica company, which is the second largest in the world, Lee Oskar Harmonicas. And the other thing is, I just feel like you constantly are kind of pushing yourself in terms of where you go with your music. And you're a great painter. You're also a great painter. A lot of people don't know that. But you have many talents, and the other thing is you're a generous spirit, and I picked up on that. It took me a while, but you said one thing to me that blew my mind.
Yeah.
I want to say back in we were doing a blowout. I think it was probably 2006.
Right.
It was the first big one we did with you and Magic Dick and Jerry Burdon.
Right.
And we were following the club owner back to the club in Santa Cruz. And I was bitching about the club. I said, look at it. He's driving a BMW and I'm driving this piece of shit van or something. He said, you don't know what's going on in his life.
That's right.
And it was like, that did a number on me. It made me think about how you look at people. And I think you have the ability to say things. The other thing is you've done things like gone to bat for me. We're doing one of my favorites is when we did the gig in Salem, Oregon. Lefty's Pizzeria, right.
And I told the guy.
The best part of the story is he had a poster that had a squirrel playing a harmonica. Didn't bother, I don't even think, to have our names on it.
No.
Just said something like Mark Hummel's harmonica blowout and had a squirrel playing. He goes, "You're really gonna like the poster, Mark." And I said I was in shock. And then he tried to he basically embarrassed me in front of customers right before the show by storming and calling me an asshole in front of patrons.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to that, but the thing I paid attention was, I didn't know who wrong or right and what the deal is. It's not my business. I met you there, and you showed up with your vehicle and your trailer and musicians. You're on the road.
Yeah.
and it was time for lunch, and according to when I saw it, you were expecting to get him to provide you lunch,
to feed us,
to feed you,
right,
and
at a pizzeria video.
Well, you're going to get fed,
right.
And he was complaining and bitching right then, like he didn't want to feed you because there's no tickets are not been selling,
right,
and then the other part to this when I saw that, and then you got up and played. Whether you ate or not, I don't remember. But I was sitting at the bar, waiting for me to get up, and while you guys are playing, and he comes to sit next to me, and the dude says something like, start talking about complaining about people not showed up and you this and that, and then his wife is a brilliant marketing person, and so the first thing I said is that. Well, I've been in the business, I think, a lot longer than you, and I have to tell you two things that you've done wrong. One is, whether you're wrong or right, if you have a beef with a musician, you don't make them upset before they play. You can take care of the business after you play, not before they play.
Right.
That's number one.
Right.
Number two, I said, having a picture of a squirrel and not having a picture of the featured artist is not good marketing. And,
so much for brilliant marketing
then
skills.
Something else was said, and I finally said to him, I said, can I cuss?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
I said, I didn't come here to eat your fucking pizza. I came here to play with Mark Hummel. That's exactly what I said.
The best part is he used to have my picture painted on the wall. Oh. And I bet he painted over that.
I don't know. As we know, there's no absolute truth. So what is the real truth? Everybody individually. The truth is how you care, and everybody cares differently. Yeah. So there's different truth, Yeah. That's all.
Well, what I found knowing you all these years, and I found it, fairly early on, is that you speak your mind and you don't hold back. You say what's on your mind.
Well, yeah, but I also.
But you say it in a way that's, I think, respectful, and
I hope so.
Yeah.
Not only hope so, respectful, but I don't say it without hearing the other person's opinion.
Right.
And I have no, even though I may seem very opinionated, I like to think of myself. If somebody says something that makes sense to me, I would never ever dish it. I would.
Right.
I mean, and I love to be proven that there's something different or added or whatever than what I believe. I mean, that's the magic. That's the same with music. I'm no prisoners. I don't want to deny any possibilities. I'm not afraid of. You can tell me any advice you have. I don't have to use it. If I use it, it's because it makes sense.
Yeah.
If I don't make sense, I don't use it.
I loved it when I came in yesterday and you and the bartender were having a conversation, and it was obvious that you guys had differences of opinion about some things. But the thing was, you guys carried on the civil conversation, and I just thought, this is what America is supposed to be.
What, anyway?
Yeah. But one of the things I really wanted to get into is just your history in terms of, because speaking of travel, I mean, your life has really been travel.
A lot of it.
I mean, so much of it. I mean, the fact that you made it to the United States from Denmark in this amazing story, her and her sister barely escaping from the concentration camp.
What happened was when the Nazis had all the killing camps, concentration camps, they want to get rid of the rest of the evidence because they were starting to lose now, and bombing from Americans that came in. So they were all in sync from all the death camps, with these open graves they made to march. Everybody was still alive and shoot them all and bury them because they didn't want the evidence. In that particular situation, bombing started.
Oh, okay.
And if you even think the soldiers out and all that.
Yeah.
And then some people, not a lot, but some people managed to, and then they were being looked for, and my mother and my Aunt Judy ran across a Russian soldier who said, you better keep going because they're coming in.
Wow. And
then, that was on horse, this guy. And then they ended up in the church, and they didn't want to convert, and so they got scared and ran. Then they got to this house or home.
This was in the north of Germany?
Yeah. When Poland, more
Okay.
like,
Cool.
where this woman was from the Gestapo, her husband in the Gestapo, and she was using her place to bathe and feed the Nazi soldiers as they come through. And my mother, my Aunt Judy, had changed their first names to sound like the Russians.
Mm.
So they're not being not Jewish and Russian. They're safer.
Right.
They're just not liked between the Russians and the Germans.
Yeah, right.
So they were slaves basically to this Nazi woman.
Right.
And then when they got more bombing started happening, she had to get out, and she had expected Denmark to be martial law by the Nazis, because the Nazis had dropped flyers and to occupy Denmark. And in Denmark at that time, when they dropped flyers that all Jews must wear Star David.
Everyone did.
Everybody in Denmark basically wore Star David.
The king, right?
Including basically saying, you as Germans don't tell us Danes who is who.
Right.
Okay? So when my mother and my Aunt Judy came, they were with this Nazi woman carrying suitcases and that. They got on a ship and they got torpedoed. Then they got rescued, and then they ended up in Copenhagen, and the Red Cross had liberated them. In the meantime, when the Nazis were threatening to walk in, and the King of Denmark couldn't stop them, one by one, little fishing boats that maybe can fit one person in there.
Right.
The rabbi of Denmark, Rabbi Melchior, was contacted by the king and said, "You better get as many of your congregation, as many people as possible, to get out or try to get over to Sweden," because Sweden was neutral.
Right.
And by the time my mother and my Judy there, all the Jews except for a few that got caught by the Nazis were already smuggled over one by one by the other Danish people in little boats. I mean, there was fears like you have a baby and it's crying, and the Nazis' ships were patrolling, so it was very vulnerable to cross.
Yeah.
Now, what they did was on Rosh Hashanah, on the day that the Nazis knew that there's a high holiday for the Jews, on that day they thought they were going to be in the synagogue. That was the day that they said, let's use that, because they took the ship patrols away.
Jeez.
The Nazis, to maintain themselves, they didn't think anybody was going to cross.
Right.
And so,
so that's how they did it.
So when my mom and my Aunt Judy told the Red Cross that she's a Nazi, that woman, and that all the Jews are dead, they said, "Oh no, the Jews are the Jews from Denmark are in Sweden. They're coming back."
Wow.
And my teacher, my rabbi was Ben Melchior. His father was the rabbi at that time.
You're saying in Denmark?
In Denmark.
Yeah.
Well, my school teacher was the son, who now is the rabbi there. Very wise man. He said, one of the comments, he said, it's not the first time other southern countries have helped in persecution, helped the Jews escape or get out. But it'll be the first time they're letting them back in.
Wow. Yeah, that's heavy.
So my father was first generation Danish, was a member of the social party, which is not communism.
So one question I had when you were growing up, was your mom was she depressed a lot because of it, or not really?
Terrific.
She was? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how did that affect you as a child?
Well, that's a very good question, because it affected me. What people don't realize, and that's why I did my album Never Forget.
Right.
I have terrible fear of anti-Semitic. I'm proud of my heritage. I'm not a practiced Jew. I go to synagogue. I'm a cardiac Jew, I say. But I know my heritage, and I have much respect and appreciations in what I've learned in my culture. When I came to the United States, I had left home. Basically my parents didn't know where I was.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I left young. Because of Eric Burdon.
Right.
When I got rid of Eric Burdon in the war, then my uncle who lived in Canada, my mother always wanted to be with, because we found out in 1954 my uncle was still alive.
Wow.
Yeah, brother.
Wow.
So, one thing to another, they found out that I was with this band. And my little brother, who's 5 years younger, came to Milwaukee at an Eric Burdon Wall concert. And he
How crazy.
and you know when I left, and he was just a little kid, and I used to hold his hand like we were that bonded. So I can imagine how devastating it could be even for my brother. You know, I've never really talked to him about it, but it, you know, that thing. It's just horrific. The lens it carries filters through, and what it did to me too. But when I heard my brother, when I heard this person's voice say Oskar, because most people don't call me Oskar, right? It was like, and it was right after I played Mother Earth, after solo near Mother Earth, and then Oskar. And after the show, I jumped off stage, and that was my brother. Some years later, and so we hanged out for a few days.
That is so crazy.
Picked up a couple of girls, and we had a great time. And then
now, was he living in Toronto?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I had to have the nerve to call my parents. And it was like the hardest thing.
Yeah, that must have been really traumatic.
And my mother, when she answered the phone and she heard my voice, she would say, you could hear like an echo, Oskar. And she said, please don't think we're mad at you.
Wow. Yeah, it's heavy stuff, man. Very heavy stuff. So what I wanted to get into is you moved from, I think you came to New York, you said first, and then how did you get to San Francisco?
Well,
did you hitchhike or?
No. After I was up in Toronto, I met some people, and I wanted to go to Haight-Ashbury.
Right.
Because I heard that Haight-Ashbury you can find a place to sleep.
Right.
And then I can go, then it'd be real close to Los Angeles where maybe I can get a record deal.
Oh, okay. That's super ambitious.
Didn't know how far it was apart.
Right. That's amazing.
So when I came to, we drove to Haight-Ashbury. And
now
then,
from Toronto?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I didn't realize.
Yeah. And then they dropped me off. Everybody kind of just, I don't know what happened. But I got off, and there was that's when right in front of a Tracy's Donut Shop.
Right. That's where you met Spade? What was
that's my Super Spade.
Spade.
But I always wanted, I loved the donuts, and I had, I think, a nickel or 10 cents on me. Whatever it cost, I had it on.
I used to go there too, man.
Tracy's Donut Shop?
Yeah, I sure did. I used to go in there and have a donut and coffee all the time. Man. Every time I went to the Hague.
Yeah. So I went in. So I didn't get in. I got to the door, about to walk in, and that's when this guy comes up to me and says, "How you doing, man?" Or something like that. And I said, "Okay. What's your name?" And I said, "Lee Oskar from Denmark. I play harmonica." You know, with whatever English I could do. He says, "My name is Super Spade." I said, "Nice to meet you. Come with me." So I followed him, and that's when we went down to Haight-Ashbury. And at that time, Haight-Ashbury, the store in the corner there was a drugstore.
Right. Now, what year was it? 67?
67.
Okay.
Yeah. 67.
Right.
So I went with him to the back of the drugstore, and he holds up a bottle, one of these bottles of saccharin,
Saccharin,
which I didn't know it was.
Right.
And he's kind of telling me that these tablets look like LSD, like Owsley acid.
Right.
Yep. And I knew the name already, so he's telling me that. And so he's telling me something like his friends got burned, bought some drugs that were not the right drugs. So, people were burning each other back to the drugs.
Right.
And you can't go to the police and say, "Hey, man, I gave the guy money," and it's bunk, right? You know? So anyhow, he was telling me that he's going to sell these as if it's LSD to these people who had burned his friends.
Right.
And apparently he was a dealer himself too, which, I didn't know that. And so after he explained that, I finally walked away, and I'm walking back to want to get my donut. Mm-hmm. And when I get there, this time the police, "Hey, you!" And I turn around and, "Yeah, you." And then push me against the car and check me out. And they said, "We told you to move 15 minutes ago." And of course, they've got the wrong guy. Right. I didn't know so they're arresting me. And they're arguing, the two cops are arguing. And one cop is Arthur Garrett's, batch number 624. I'll never forget. The other guy, I never got the name.
Yeah.
But this guy, Arthur Garrett's, was arguing with the other cop and what to arrest me on. Because they had been arresting all these kids, apparently, every day for public nuisance and loitering, the 370 penal code.
Wow.
And so, and I didn't know, I've been in the streets and I've seen terrible things. They got the wrong guy. I'm scared, right?
Right.
And when I got to Park Station in San Francisco, the other dude sees my Danish passport and he said something like, "I'm sorry, we picked you." And then he said, "You have 3 phone calls to make." And so I said, I don't know anybody here. I'm in Denmark. I don't know what. And
so were they arresting you at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they give me the phone book, and I look up Tracy Stoner Show, and I find it. So I called to see if anybody knew Super Spade.
Oh my God!
And when I called the phone, they answered. This dude that answered, "Excuse me, do you know Super Spade?" He says, "Yeah, that's me." Because that was a payphone. That's the back then,
okay.
which we don't remember.
Right, sure.
Back then, yeah, the number to
so that was probably his office.
Yeah, so that was and that number for the Tracy's Donor Shop, that's the phone number, and it's on a payphone.
How funny.
Yeah, so he was talking from that phone normally, and I don't know if that connected with Arthur Gans and them. They were seeing me following Super Spade or whatever it is, but they were arresting kids before me, after me, constantly. So Super Spade was, something about it. I said, "I'm in jail." So he says, "I'll take care of you." And I was so upset that night. I was yelling, Danish and English. I was just, I didn't know why I was in.
Super Spade said he'd take care of you?
Yeah.
And he got you out?
And next morning, a bail bondsman bailed me out.
Wow.
And so after I got bailed out, whatever I did that day, the process and all that, by the time I got out, I walked, tried to hitchhike, and most of it I ended up walking, got to Haight-Ashbury. I didn't see anybody, just find a place to crash. I don't even know what I did. Every day I was like, find a place to sleep on a bench or somewhere. And the next day I ran into a couple of people that I already had met, that I had seen. And they said, Super Spade got the front page newspaper.
Wow.
Was his real name was Bill Thomas. I didn't know what Spade meant then either.
Right,
I didn't think that was his name. And he had been cut up in pieces. So thrown over Stanyon, that hill over there. So apparently the people I imagine that he was telling me he's going to sell this to was...
And they murdered him.
They killed him.
And now didn't it turn out that Rick Estrin knew that guy too?
Rick Estrin knew Super Spade too, yeah. Only a few people. And it was amazing. I mean, I wanted to thank him, but he was gone.
Yeah. But
then I had to go to... court, and Arthur Garens was threatening because I didn't plead guilty.
Because you did not.
I did not. Yeah. Judge Kennedy, a black judge, and Mrs. Doodle was the public defender, and Pierre told me, "You got to go and see the public." So I got there real early, and nothing was open. Open 15 minutes or 10 minutes before the court. So nobody knows what really happened. I couldn't explain. Right. So how can she defend me? Right? Yeah. So I'm yelling in court while she says to me something like, "You're going to be arrested publicly." And I yelled at her too. Yeah. I yelled at everybody. and the Judge Kennedy...
Must have gone over great.
No, the Judge Kennedy was digging it.
Was he?
Because he was fed up, obviously.
Oh, because you were standing up for yourself.
Not only that, no, because he's got all these kids arrested by the same cops for the same thing, that he knew something was wrong.
He knew something was
and
wrong.
all the parents would have the kids plead guilty, and I pleaded not guilty. Yeah. So because he says, "You plead guilty or not guilty?" I said, I don't know what I did wrong. Yeah. So he says, "You have 90 days or something to get a." So I went to American Civil Liberties Union. Okay. Danish consulate. Yeah. Had five attorneys represent me because my case was a case they could use when all the other kids had pleaded guilty. Wow. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. From San Francisco, you weren't there that long, is that right? I was there a year because I had to wait for the right. I had to wait for the case. Right. I went from a municipal code to civil to all these things. Okay. And ended up back with the same judge, and he said dismissed a year later. Wow! And then when he's dismissed, he says, anytime you're around, you can come have a coffee with me. Wow! He said, and the feds, or not the feds, the immigration didn't show up. I was scared of that because I was really illegally now in the country. Right. But 6 months before, while I was doing the case, they came and to question that, and my attorneys. Richard Wittheimer, the people from, from Civil Liberties Union,
Right.
they had some reason to say that they can't touch me because how I came here and my situation of being arrested. And after the case, and when the case was over, I was like, I had the fear they were going to
Like, I'm going to get the hell out of here.
No, I'm going to get deported. I mean, how are you going?
Yeah,
They're waiting for me, right?
Wow.
Nothing happened, and thank God. Yeah.
So when you were in the, I mean, you were in the Haight at this time. To me, is
The
really
Love-In.
interesting.
The Love-In. I was
The
in the
Love-In. You were from '67 during the Love-Ins to '68 when the drugs hit the streets and things really got overly
I was
crowded, but also.
I mean,
went
the
downhill.
Love-In was freaky to me because you got to remember. First of all, I'd just been arrested. Dudes came up to me and said, "Hey, you want to go to a party?" I said, "Sure." So they gave me the address up in Oakland,
Right.
and that was the Black Panthers.
Wow.
It was what's his name now?
Huey Newton.
Huey Newton.
Yeah.
I didn't know Black Panther, nothing, and I think maybe they were just setting me up to make fun of me. I don't know why. It's a party, okay. So I hitchhiked all the way up to Oakland Hills. When I get to the house, this little house, there's all these people in there. I walked in and I just surrounded all these people that are dancing, having a good time, and I started dancing. and I probably looked like the goofiest guy dancing. And I can imagine if I'm looking at that funny hippie guy,
funny
right?
hippie dude.
But because I had no fear, I didn't even know what Huey Newton. I had no idea about the Black Panther. I didn't know anything.
Right. Yeah.
That was the party. Okay.
The whole racial thing was still
oblivious. Right.
You're oblivious.
Right. So I meet like Michael Shreve,
right,
in Redwood
from Santana.
Yeah, but he wasn't with Santana yet.
Before that, yeah.
He was going to San Mateo College, and I went there. There's this band that potentially I might be able to be part of. Jennifer Kuhn asked her parents if I could stay one night over there, and so they took me in.
Wow.
And I ended up living there for that whole year with them.
Yeah.
They treated me
that's like what I was like.
They treated me
when
like
I moved there.
like I was their son. And I'm watching TV, eating my peanut butter sandwich and chocolate milk. And here's this whole thing about Huey Newton and Black Panthers. That, man, it was like the scariest thing, the way they're being profiled.
Right.
That I said, holy shit. Thank God for my naiveness.
Yeah.
Because if I had seen that,
you would have been scared to death.
And gone up there and then heard that, then they would have seen this white kid in fear or something, and maybe they would say, what's he doing here?
Isn't that funny?
And they would have put me out. Hopefully it wouldn't hurt me or anything.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
So naiveness sometimes helps.
Can help, Well, it's kind of like, one of the things I found going to, because I've done a lot of teaching of harmonica in prisons, and that being around the inmates, it was like such a revelation that, people don't necessarily come off the way
they do horrific things.
Yeah, they could have done horrific things, but you would never know.
You would know it.
So once you got out of
the Bay
court
Area,
case, you went. Did you hitchhike down to LA?
No,
or
I met a guy named George Unwin. I think his name was, and he wanted to manage me. He wanted to be my manager.
Okay.
And so he would take me around. As a matter of fact, Cretan Clearwater.
Creedence Clearwater.
They were playing in this little club in San Francisco. The stage it's like a tiny place. The stage is really high up.
Huh.
And they didn't want me, but I ended up somehow got in and sat in with them.
Right.
Because they were trying to do their debut as Creedon and they didn't want somebody else. But anyhow, I said, a couple of things like that. And then some other guy who had just inherited $5,000, which was a lot of money.
Ton of money,
right? Was going to invest it in
your career,
in my career.
Wow!
So George Unwin got it worked out. So we drove down to Los Angeles, and there was a Gold Star Studio, which was a famous.
That's where the Wrecking Crew was.
Yeah, a lot of things. It's not even existing. It's torn down now.
Right.
Doc Siegel was there, and I brought it to, and. He called up Stu Levine and Hugh Masekela.
Wow.
And then I went back into the studio to see Doc Siegel, and Stu Levine was there. Dr. John had just done his album and all the other stuff. And Stu said, no, I'm not interested. Something like that. Then Doc said, come on. And then he went into a room. I guess he played something, whatever, and came back out. And Stu Lee was interested, so he writes down Hugh Mazzicato's address, and it was Cap Calloway's daughter.
Wow.
Who answered the door. She was with Hugh Mazzicato.
What a trip.
And a little old lady owned a house, and she had a little guest house that she lived in and rent that house we had. And so that gave me an opportunity to bring the guys down, the musicians from San Francisco that I had started to put together.
Right.
Tim Barnes.
Oh yeah,
Guitar
he ended
player.
up in Stoneground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tim Barnes. Yeah, he died recently.
And we were staying in this house, you know, like hippies, man.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a room for five
Right.
people in separate rooms, so
Right.
we had a
Sleeping bags.
sleep bag, or we put little curtains, so there was things,
Right.
whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And that's when I got my first record player.
Huh.
I never had a record player before.
Wow.
That's when I got Ray Charles,
Yeah.
Crying Time.
Yeah.
Never heard anybody. Only music I ever heard anybody was maybe on radio in Denmark, but it was purely,
Yeah.
Robinson Crusoe or anything from blues to
Wow.
whatever. Didn't know categories, didn't matter. It was all music. And we were staying at this house in Malibu, and I'm supposed to work out with these guys. Well, apparently the guys didn't want to do anything with me. Because I think what Stu Levine said, you're not, Lee Oskar is the star, the artist,
And you
or
guys
whatever.
are nothing. Yeah.
No, not nothing. You're the backup
You're
musician.
the backup.
Or whatever it said. It was something
Right.
like that.
It didn't work.
He dropped me off on Sunset Boulevard where Whiskey Go-Go is.
Right,
And Sunset Strip there.
Yeah.
And Mario would let me in because he knew me from Hugh Mazzicato then. So they would let me free in there.
So you really it was really a thing of luck of who
Just different
who
things.
you ran into.
Yeah.
And was it at the Whiskey that you met Eric Burdon?
No. I met Eric Burdon on a place called The Experience.
Oh yeah. I've heard
And
that was on
Sunset Boulevard.
that was on Sunset too,
But-
right by the Palladium,
But
wasn't it?
it's so far east that it was like not the place that was happening.
Yeah.
And it made real serious threats to the Whiskey A Go-Go. Because Whiskey A Go is the place on
Oh
Sunset
yeah, that
Strip.
was happening.
And in the east side, way east of that, nothing happened.
Yeah.
But there was the place that was like promoting for the jam sessions.
Right.
And at the Coliseum, the LA Coliseum, when anybody played, no matter what act it was, they knew that after hour, they somehow found out that this is the place to go and jam.
Yeah.
So Whiskey A Go was being threatened by this stuff.
Oh, okay.
And Marshall Brothers let me in for free.
Yeah.
He just let me in for free.
Right.
And then I met Blues Image. They had just
yeah.
So Blues Image had just came in from Florida. And with the Blues Image, Mike Pinero.
Right. My
And
friend was
the guitar
real
player.
good friends with
So they would let me come up and play.
Right.
So I came in for free and I sit in and play. Then Eric comes in and he also sat in with those guys.
Oh, okay.
So he and I started to connect.
Right.
And then one day when I hitchhiked to the Whiskey A Go-Go and I walk in those celebrity booths,
Right.
I see Eric.
Right.
So I walk over to say hi to Eric.
Yeah.
Chris Huston comes up to me with Chris Huston became our engineer. He came up to me with a card and he says, I have a recording studio in Hollywood and I'd like to sign you.
Wow.
So I didn't want to be signed by him, but I said, hey, he's got a studio. I can make a demo.
Yeah.
Because I had just left A&M Records, knocked on the door a few days before.
Wow.
And the woman that's a receptionist, I thought she was the record label.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll sign for $400. I thought that was a lot of money. And she says, get this hippie out of here.
Yeah.
So
That was a brand new label.
yeah, and Mo, I met Mo that time. He just
Right.
passed,
Right.
you know. And
Is that Mo
Austin.
Austin?
Yeah.
Right.
And I wanted to be signed to them.
Yeah.
And when they said no, they can't say no unless they've heard me.
Right.
Otherwise, I can't. If they say no after they heard me, it's one thing, but they haven't heard me. So I wanted to prove to them. So I went to Chris Huston's studio.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to sign with you. I just want to use the studio, and then I can pay you back if it's not
You
generated.
really did have the ambition.
So he said, he says, I can't go and do that. So I
Yeah.
sat in the lobby, like devastated.
Yeah.
And here comes this dude out, that was Jerry Goldstein, with a Coleman piece of paper out of the studio, doing like a kazoo, like a harmonica. And he's yelling, I need a harmonica player. And I'm sitting here watching this, but I'm devastated. So all of a sudden, we got somebody. This kid comes running up the stairs, goes in with Jerry Goldstein. Minutes later, comes back out like he's not happening. And the guy says, I need a harmonica player. and I had one harmonica in my name, that F harmonica. I said, I play harmonica because I'm kind of embarrassed if he'd seen me all this time and I didn't say anything.
Right.
Okay, come on in with me. He puts the headphones on. I played with no taste. I mean, I was just so excited to play, playing fifth gears, right? And Jerry liked it so much, he was like, give me $10. So now I meet this parking meter lady, and I take out for a pizza, and the pizza was more than $5 because the $10 I gave $5 to that band that I was like trying to take care of, right? You know,
right.
Then I felt guilty. They got $5.
Yeah.
I had $5, and I take the meter lady out for a pizza, and it's more than that. So I left the harmonica, the only harmonica I had, because I'd given up as a tip, like somebody would want a fucking harmonica as a tip, right? And she paid the extra.
Night Shift was the original war.
That
band,
was the
right?
band. Yeah, that was. Yeah, the guys the guys in the band wore.
Now, did you and Eric find them? Was that the deal that you guys kind of accidentally found them?
No, not accidentally. Jerry Goldstein had.
Oh, he found them.
No, yeah, but Jerry Goldstein had a poster company then.
Okay.
Called The Visual Thing. That's how he had connection with Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, and everybody. Because posters were a big thing.
Right, that was a big thing. Yeah.
So they would come to the back door and what deals are.
Right.
So this guy Peter Rosen worked for Visual Things, and he was a bass player, and he played in that band. So he would keep telling Jerry.
You mean he played in Night Shift?
Yeah.
Oh.
You gotta come down and see the band.
Oh, okay.
So Eric and I went down.
And where was that? Where did you go see him?
It was called the Ragdoll, and then later the FM station in North Hollywood.
North Hollywood. Okay.
So when we walked in, it was packed with people.
Yeah.
And it was Deacon Jones.
Playing keyboards?
No, Deacon Jones, the football player.
The football player. Okay, I was thinking the keyboard.
Yeah, he was doing his singing debut.
Oh, right.
He was doing like a one-arm push-up with the other microphone. I love you, baby. And I mean, I was embarrassed to see that because it makes me feel like a wuss. I mean, if that's what makes you a man, yeah.
That's great.
So he's doing his singing debut with the backup band, and then when after he's done his set,
no wonder they wanted to hire you in there.
No. They heard that Eric was coming in to check it out. So they didn't know who Eric looked like or anything.
Right.
So when he finished the singing, they did their set. And somehow something told me to jump up, so I jumped up and played. They thought I was Eric Burdon.
Wow!
Because they knew the right way. And I played. And amazing how many people in Hollywood all want to make record deals. Everybody had something.
Yeah,
they're all like,
you could do it back then.
I mean, they were like, so it was like a freaking circus.
Yeah.
And then maybe a few days later, the nucleus of the band and Eric and myself all met at this place in Hollywood that we sat around a swimming pool. And we had lox and bagels and all that stuff. And that's when we came up with the name War. And
now, how did you come up with that name?
Well, there are different stories. My story, honestly, is that I had this whole philosophy. We talked about everybody walking around saying peace. I was saying about everybody walking around saying peace.
Right.
And if you're totally in peace with yourself, you can't be creative. So my philosophy was, if you are the part in you that makes you creative is the war that's in you.
So like kind of the war.
So Steve Gold says, "Whoa, that's it." So people will say he came up with the name, but it came from me.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. And I know that Eric was only with you guys for what was it? It seemed like a year, but 6 months.
It's when you look at logistically, it was a very short time.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but when in
So
field,
you guys kind of had an immediate.
But the feel to me was it didn't seem that short, but it was.
It was.
Yeah.
How much touring did you guys do with Eric?
Well, we did some. I mean, we played a lot of places, also like the Golden Bear in Huntington Beach.
Right.
We were like the house band, so we could warm up, and we recorded live every night. We had a remote recording device that traveled, so we recorded every shows. When we came to England, of course, he's the superstar.
Right.
And he didn't show up.
Yeah.
In London, he didn't show up.